I look at this in terms of the First World War, right? Because I tend to think about this from the Canadian perspective, obviously. So I hear, the SS is elite. I'm like, well, they're on the defensive most of the time. I'm talking about Normandy specifically in this case, as an example. They're on the defensive pretty much all the time. They counterattack any offensive actions they do take, and poorly for them with high casualties, and small and big. I'm talking company level all the way up to Operation, Luttich. It doesn't go well. So I think about this in terms of the First World War. People call the SS elite for all kinds of reasons. People tend to try to get me to see it as, they're elite because of the kit and because they're elite Nazis, which I agree with. But people think there are still elite fighters and use examples of what they did in Normandy on the defensive. So by that logic, all those divisions in the First World War of the Germans were elite too, because they stopped the Allies from advancing. You can turn this logic on its head. So all of those divisions no one talks about in the First World War, why aren't they called elite? They stymied the Allies for years. Why aren't they elite? Right? No one's calling them elite because they stopped the Allies. I think it's because of the Nazi stuff. The amount of people who love the Nazi stuff, they don't say it out loud, or some won't even admit it to themselves. But they like the kit. They like the look. They don't care about the murder and the death and the genocide. It makes good looking, cool models, and ooh, they're so good. And I think it clouds their judgment. And I'm talking about academics as well. I am no fan of Deste because of his, basically seems like he wanted to make out with Whitman if he could have. It's just, yes. So there is a good at defensive thing about this, but being good at defensive doesn't take that much. Not as good as being an offensive and having to adapt, right? Defense is defense. You dig in, you use the ground to your advantage, and you stop them. You're not trying to move forward. Counterattacks, blah, 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 are not attacking. They're counterattacking. It's different. You're on your own ground, quote unquote. It's not the same. So, a lot of people are good at defense because it's just easier, again, quote unquote.